Welcome back to the Born and Bred podcast. This is episode 4 of season 2, and we are your hosts, Brendan Gallagher
and Maria Lynn. Be sure to follow us on Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can get some behind-the-scenes content of our Stomping Ground series and some other fun surprises, and it helps us continue to do everything that we're doing by promoting here the music of the Mountain State.
If you enjoy what we're doing, that's a real quick way, easy way. People say, hey, how can I help? $1 a month.
Times
1,000 or 1,000, that would help us out greatly. That keeps us going. If you sign up for that, we greatly appreciate you. And we already have a few people sign up for that, and they're getting to see some behind the scenes stuff. And
they got to see our latest Stomping Grounds video a week early.
Yeah.
And as well as some exclusive behind-the-scenes interview content, which will be released at some point. But right now, it's only available on Patreon.
And we will be putting up that next Stomping Grounds video in that Patreon very shortly, as soon as we have that finalized.
Thank you to the sponsor of Stomping Grounds, Stone Tower. We are very happy and excited to have them as a supporter of the Stomping Grounds series.
And when we say supporter, it's more like partner. I mean, and that's what we look for. We want people who are invested in the West Virginia music scene, and Stone Tower came along and they're like, yeah, we love this. We love music. We love West Virginia music. We're a West Virginia business.
And it was great because we love coffee.
Yeah, and we drink a lot of Stone Tower. So that worked out wonderfully. I can feel your lies, they're coming around. The further I get from you, the closer I get to. Yeah, so we've got Stomping Grounds that's out. Make sure you're checking that out. And while you're there, check out all the other YouTube content we have. We have our podcast that is available on YouTube as of today.
I don't know if this audience knows about our podcast, Brendan.
I know that they're listening to the podcast. What I mean is, check out all the other episodes of our podcast that are available on YouTube.
You didn't know we have a podcast.
Oh my God. Yeah, check it out. I'm leaving this. I don't care.
Asher to cut.
No,
cut
I'm leaving it. We're leaving it. Don't talk about Asher on there. Nobody knows about Asher. So anyhow, yeah, sorry, things got a little off the rails there. We have the podcast available everywhere you do streaming now. It's officially up on iTunes if you like to do your podcasting there. But on that YouTube channel, you can find our podcast, you can find our Stomping Grounds, and you can find a recent segment we did with Christopher Quattro of the band The Moon, My Twin, where I asked, somebody commented, great interview, Brendan. And I was like,
yeah, you kind of winding up a monkey.
Yeah, I basically just let it go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, great. I'm proud of myself. No, seriously, Chris was amazing, and he just went for it and talked about his approach to guitar, his approach to technique, and some of his inspiration. And it's just a really cool, if you like to hear how people think, this is a great episode.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do something so articulately with so much fluidity in a single take without any notes.
Way better than we're doing today.
Much better than we're doing today, for sure.
We want to step into our guest that we have on today's episode. I've been wanting to interview this gentleman for a bit. If you've noticed, here at Born and Bred, we have been talking pretty heavily about the West Virginia hip-hop scene, rap scene, because we believe very much in it. We believe very much in the West Virginia music scene as a whole. But there's something really cool happening in the West Virginia rap scene with so many amazing bands. And we were able to get Eric Jordan, also known as Monstalung, to sit down with us and talk for a little bit. It's a pretty awesome conversation. Gives a little history of the West Virginia hip hop scene, and then talks about what's happening now and the young bloods and all of this stuff, that these young guys that are coming up. So we're going to go ahead and segue into our conversation with him. Check it out. Welcome into the show, Monstalung. Welcome into the Born and Bred podcast, Monstalung, also known as Eric Jordan. Eric, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So you go by Monstalung. I want to know, I've always wanted to know, what's that name about?
That name is about, when I was younger, I used to do certain substances, and I was known for having big lungs. Let's put it that way. And that's originally where it came from. But when I started DJing, it's also I had a big voice. I was one of the few DJs who talked during his set, and that's where the name came from.
So
Big, big, big voice, big voice.
and that's where I kind of hoped it was kind of like going to is that Monstalung in the sense of you are a big voice and you're a big voice in Appalachia hip hop, specifically West Virginia hip hop. You were, raised here. You've got your finger on the pulse of what's happening here in West Virginia hip hop. So I want to give you a chance. Tell me a little bit about. I know it's existed for a while, but it really feels like the scene is coalescing, like it's really coming together. What's happened there? What's the shift that's happening in the West Virginia rap scene?
The shift. I really, I have to. My first sign of seeing the shift of us, because I have to give you a little history. We did have a vibrant hip hop scene early 2000, mid 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, when I moved back here in 1999, in the 90s, I was out there doing full-time broke musician. You know what I'm saying? I was living in Atlanta, going to Chicago, wherever I thought I could get on at. When I came down to settle, I'm always gave myself a time limit with the with my, like I said, full-time being broke and being a creative. But I had a son, and I was like, okay, I only can go this long because I got to go back and be in my son's life. But it just happened by the time I was ready to come back and settle back down. My brother, Lionel, but a lot of people know him as 66240, aka Jumbo Green. He started sending me demo tapes, and I was floored. I was like, this might be what I was put on earth to do, you know what I'm saying, type thing. So I came back here. When I came back here, there were a couple of groups that were doing their thing before we got started. There was, I think it was Grand Safari. That was Tony Grungy and those guys back in the day. And then I think it was Lab Rats also down in Huntington, West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there was no real scene. It was just acts.
Right.
So, with me being in the Atlanta music scene during the 90s and bouncing up to New York and stuff, I knew we needed a scene. It couldn't just be acts and music. So, I started reaching out as we started doing more shows and stuff and networking. I reached out to local neighborhoods in Huntington, local neighborhoods in Charleston, where I knew artists were working, artists in Beckley. I was like, let's create this circuit, let's get on each other's songs. Let's invite each other to shows. And all those guys bought in. So we had a nice, vibrant scene. As we get older in life, I think, it was kind of like we wanted to pass the torch on. And then also as we get older, some artists, that I was working with, just life being life, getting older, having kids and responsibilities. And, but that ain't me. I'm to the grave with it. It's the music's therapeutic for me. So right. I have to do it. So like, but we kind of, like it's their time now. That was kind of like our attitude. It's their time now, and some of them did do it, and some of them do it. But it just seemed like we didn't have that community thing again. And then I think with older artists like me, who are like, we're late to the party when it comes to technology and the internet and things like that. We've kind of felt our window was over. We like, we might have missed, there's no outlet for this, or there's no people aren't really checking in on this kind of music, and specifically my music being boom bap, sample based stuff. I really didn't see it, so I tried some different things. I tried my jazz, hip hop fusion band, Kwai, very dope. I got involved just being more of a supporter and using my resources and stuff, but. I didn't think about like getting back into it full time with my music until I heard Griselda. Mm-hmm. When I heard Griselda, and I knew there was an underground scene online. It took me time to figure that out. There's a whole bunch of underground hip hop artists online. You just got to figure out how to search for it. And then I said the next thing would have been Duck City. Yeah, Duck City out of Charleston. They really started dropping a lot of music and doing shows. And it just that reignited my fire.
Right.
You know, also Dinosaur Burps. You know, I say those two guys are kind of hand in hand. Those, you know, these are all home. When I say back when I went back in the early '90s and reached out to those groups, those were a couple of groups. Duck City back then was called Appalachian Assassins. You know, and Dinosaur Burp was, you know, him and Mule. That was Day One Media.
Right.
So these crews are already new, but they, you know, rebranded themselves, you know, and just started putting in stuff. And I was like, between Griselda and Dinosaur Burps and Duck City, I was like, oh, it's on and cracking. They still want this. I do this. This is not. I can do this in my sleep. This is what I love to do. So yeah, that's how we got back to
Well,
this. And another thing I tell you also, Brendan, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you go.
I saw the probably the last stage of my mentorship. I'm really big on mentorship. I'm really big on community. That's just something I learned from my parents. Um, and you know, that was kind of what I was trying to do with pass on the torch. I didn't want to get in their way, but what I didn't recognize was they needed leadership. They needed guidance. They needed to see they needed to see how it was done. And the minute I started dropping music again, I saw I was able to like help people, and they were more receptive to like, you know, listening to the OG, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. And you know, I've seen some of the stuff you've been doing lately. You've actually been hanging out with a lot of those young bucks. And I know you've talked about Soldier Slick, Spike Yee. Gosh, I mean, I've seen some of the pictures and stuff you guys are doing. You're getting together with these get-togethers and really like having those conversations. And I think it's been really good. You know, our mantra here at Born and Bred is always rising tides float all ships, right? And
Yeah.
you know, we just had a whole conversation about this. I'm not in competition with you. You're not in competition with me. I'm in competition with myself.
Right.
That's where the competition is. I'm always trying to be better. And I think that's what I'm finally seeing in the hip hop scene here is that you're all just trying to be better and you don't care.
Yes.
And I'm seeing so much. What I love to see is so many artists giving other artists props, not afraid to share. Hey, my boy over here just dropped this.
Right.
And
Right.
I love that. I love seeing that. That's like it's more than it's like a giant group. It's not just one rap artist. It's a giant group of rap artists. And
Right.
I love that. So kudos to you guys for fostering that environment. I got mad respect for that. All right. So with that said, I want to give you some props because you've had some cool things happen lately. You were just on a really cool compilation from Apple Shop. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Oh, Apple Shop's a dope project. It was put together by Dr. Turner, Dr. Bill Turner,
Yep.
who we consider the father of Black Appalachia. If you ask him, he'll say it's Ed Cabell, and that's another person close to my family who was great friends with my father. But Dr. Turner and Dr. Ted Olson out of East Tennessee State, they've been doing this projects like the compilation projects before, but they when they was looking for a new genre, they decided they wanted to do. And when I say compilations, Appalachian compilations, but they just been done different types of genres of music. And they were reaching out to artists. Crystal Good out of Charleston, West Virginia, she heard about this, yes, and she contacted me and said, "You need to be a part of this."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, anything Crystal says, I'm with it." But you know, Dr. Turner too, and Ted Olson, and also don't even forget J.K., Dr. Turner's son. He was kind of the curator of this whole project. So I started jumping on these Zoom calls, and it'd be like 30, 40 different hip hop artists from all over the Appalachians. And that just wowed me right there. So, you know, I kind of got the idea of what Dr. Turner and Ted Olson were doing. And that's when I was like, all right, they like submit music. So I started working with my crew. I got with my brother, 66240, AKA Jumbo Green. And we submitted the song I Will Not Lose, which is actually the title track of the album called No Options. There's a part of the song where my brother talks about we will not lose, there's no options. And JK, Dr. Turner's son, thought that would be a great title for the album. So that was one song we submitted. The other song I submitted was, I submitted two more songs. The other song I submitted was Gonna Be Me, which features that group I was talking about earlier, Kwai.
Yep.
Was a jazz fusion hip hop, local artists here, local musicians that I work with in my band Kwai, Ryan Dunkerley, Derek Springston, who plays with Aristotle Jones, and the Appalachia Soul Band, and Xavier Williams. It was a track that we've had for a while. It started out with Derek writing the groove and the guitar, just a studio session, and then me and Xavier jumping on the beat. But we had to sit and then I was like, this would be a great song. I love the live vibe of it. Got my son on it, Mr. Enigma. So I wanted to make it a full family affair. So my son jumped on the track and I jumped on the track. They also accepted that track. And then the last track I submitted was Like This, which is a solo track of mine. But also I wrote with Derek Springston.
Okay.
That guitar riff is also something that he started.
Nice.
And we vibed out too. And I was like, yeah, this will do it. We wrote that over at Dave Rain's house in South Park. Me, Dave Rain, Derek Springston, and Ryan Dunkerley. But it was Derek Springston's riff that we started off. And
I know Derek personally, and he is such a subdued, understated guy. Like you would never know he's so talented by the way he carries himself, because he doesn't carry himself with an ounce of like arrogance, nothing about him. But my God, that guy can play guitar.
He can play guitar, but he's a better human being, like you said.
I'd agree with that.
He's a better human being, and Derek deserves everything that's coming his way. I can feel the universe shifting for him. Yeah, but yeah, that's how it started, though.
Very cool. So that was a really cool project. All the tracks on that are amazing. So check that out.
When I first heard that album for the first time, because I didn't hear the other tracks.
Right.
You just know what we submitted, but when I heard the whole thing as a whole, I was like, wow.
I want to go back a second, just give a shout out, because I actually met Crystal recently at Healing Appalachia, and you mentioned her, and that woman just walks with like such a authority and such a like, she's coming through. You all should just I loved her. She was fantastic. And you should check her out, listeners, at Black by God WV on Instagram. Black by God WV. Great information there. And she's just doing great things in the state. So
West Virginia royalty there. That's West Virginia royalty.
100%. 100%. All right. So recently, you got a really cool little nod from, was it Bandcamp or SoundCloud?
Bandcamp.
Yeah, it was Bandcamp, wasn't it? Like about like a rapper, like you were actually featured in there. Like
they actually featured the compilation, but they used a couple quotes about my songs.
Yeah,
but it was the compilation. Cool. Yes, yeah.
That was really cool.
To this day, I read Bandcamp daily every Friday, and that's how me and my son get turned on to new groups and new music. I've all been doing that for years. Yeah. So to see my name on a Bandcamp daily, I'm almost passed out, bro. Almost lost it.
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's just awesome to see so many of you guys getting, like, I mean, I know going back to Duck City, I know they've had some really cool things happening lately. Shrim's had some great things happening. I mean, there's just so much amazing stuff happening. So I want to talk about a song you just duetted on with a gentleman named Brandy Irvine. It's a really cool track, and I want you to tell me how that came to be. Why did you guys decide to do that now? And tell us just a little bit about that song.
Oh, I think the universe put that together, man. Neither one of us was going to claim that. I think the universe put that together. I went to go see Power Forward, a group by Andrew Tuck's band, and who I'm actually performing with this Friday at 123. I got a few songs with Power Forward. But I was there just as a fan, and we didn't at that time. I didn't talk to Brand. I forget what the benefit show too. It was a benefit show, and I can't remember. But I just I just went up there to see those guys because I'm a fan of Tuck and the 1,000 bands that he plays in, and Brandy was at that show, and I know Brandy through just local people, but we never really kicked it. But I've always been a fan of his from afar. And he just walked up to me, he said, you do music, right? I said, yes, I do, Mr. Irvine. I wanted him to know that I'm a fan. I'm like, yes, I do, sir. Yes, I do. And I'm a big fan of yours. And he's like, would you like to make some music together? I said, absolutely. And after that, we met up. I went over to his house, amazing studio he has. He's such an amazing musician. And he was working on, this song is going to be featured on his upcoming album.
Okay.
And that album should be coming out, and I think next month. But this is one of the songs off the album. It's something that he already had in works, and he already had the hook and stuff. And he sent me, and I listened to it, and he sent it to me, and that's just where I was right there, mentally. It wasn't like, we're going to make it a Voter Red song or we're going to, it's just what came out because he already had that hook. And he kind of briefed me like what he wanted to be on. But man, yeah. And I look forward to making more music with Brandy.
Yeah. So that song's called Nobody But Us. And can you just tell me a little bit about, yeah, I know you heard his hook. Where did your mind go after hearing that hook? Like, where did you feel the direction of that song had to go?
Brendan, I wish I really could give you a cool answer for that, but I'm such a new songwriter.
Mhm.
Like, songwriting is new for me. Like, I've always been a production dude. I've always been the support dude,
Right.
behind the scenes, because I just felt like that what was needed. But I've always had songs and melodies in my head. Like I would help artists write hooks, or I'd be like, I hear the delivery of the flow going like this with the beat, but I never had to sit down and write down full verses. So all this stuff, when I write, I don't know. It's kind of like it just flows out.
Yeah.
It just flows out. And I'm real big on repetition and mastering and, working on 10,000 hours. I got that in beat production, but I'm just trying to get to my 20th song writing. So I don't know, I don't know, bro. I don't know where it's coming from.
I get it. I get it. Now, you personally put out an album, and it's called An Appalachian Hip Hop Story Part One, and that was a couple months ago. Yeah.
In June 10th. I dropped it June 10th.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So it's this summer. You that album, and you did some videos online to coincide with that, talking a little bit about your upbringing, and where you were going with all that. I'm curious, part two coming?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Like the album is named after my memoir. My memoir, which comes out next fall or spring, but it'll be next year for sure. But it's called An Appalachian Hip Hop Story Part One, and it's because I know I got so many of these dope stories about music artists in Appalachian trying to get out the hills or trying to be heard out the hills. And my whole crew, I could give you 20 books off my crew alone, So, I think these are unique, different kinds of stories, but there's a lot of things people can relate to. And yeah, man, I just thought it'd be cool when I wrote this memoir, and I started writing my memoir. I got furloughed during COVID.
Okay.
And the time in my hands, and I felt like, this would be a great time to do that book that you've been wanting to do. And I wrote it. And then I was like, but I'm gonna be different with my book. I'm gonna have a music soundtrack for my book, and that's what I did. And when I started working on these songs, all that stuff out the book just poured into those songs.
Very
so
cool. Awesome. Well, hey, I'm not going to keep you any longer, but I do want to give you a chance to shout out. You got something coming up. You got a really cool show happening.
Yes.
December 3rd, I think you said.
Yes. December 3rd. We have a album release for a local artist here called Mulu, and I think he's out of Pennsylvania. I want to say Uniontown, but I'm not sure. But Mulu, and I just thought he was a very dope artist. And I was like, and also to coincide with the networking that we've been trying to do. He hasn't made it to the photo shoots, but he's always jumped into the messages with us and encouraged us and just been a part of it. And, I'm just trying to find artists with good energy to network and create this community with. And he was just perfect. And he's such good friends with Wolf Jones, and that boy, that's like my little nephew, and before I can get to how dope of an artist he is, I just have to be like, that's my little homie. You know what I'm saying? I've been with him since he came out. So, and I mean the womb. So I'm just proud of him. But Wolf is extremely good friends with Mulu. And that's how I found out about that. And Spike Yee, and that's the, I feel like that's the young boys that's really doing it right now. And, I still got my resources in play, whether it's, the people I know at different venues and just, local promoters. And I was like, all right, let's put this show on. And I got all of them on. So the show is December 3rd. It's an all ages show. It's an early show. We're going to start at 8 p.m. at 123 Pleasant Street. You can buy the tickets online. It's $10 admission, but it'll be Mulu, it'll be Spike Yee, it'll be Wolf Jones, It'll be Adrian Michael. It'll be myself. It'll be B hyphen. It'll be Trevor Cook, and it'll also be Stereophonics and Soldier Slick, hosted by Mackenzie and DJ Strizzy. So it's gonna be a dope night.
Fantastic lineup. Hey, I want to give you your props. Thanks for showing these artists that they can do it in West Virginia. Thanks for showing them that they don't have to leave here and that the tools and resources all exist here. And I think it's awesome what you're doing and what all of you are doing. And so from us at Born and Bred to you guys, kudos and keep up the good work.
And thank you. And thank you, Born and Bred, for giving us artists a platform. It's hard to find them in this area. So we appreciate that. We appreciate y'all, bro.
Likewise. Thanks, Eric. So thanks so much to Monstalung for joining us today on our episode. Hope you enjoyed that conversation about the West Virginia hip hop scene. Make sure you check out that show they have happening at 123 on December 3rd. That's going to be a really cool lineup. And you can come to the Robinson Grand on November
16th
for the
Born and Bred concert series
featuring
the Moon My Twin, Kindred Valley, and Alabaster Boxer.
It's going to be an awesome time. Get your tickets online at
therobinsongrand.com and support us on Patreon at patreon.com/bornandbredmusic.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.